So today is wiring day. I know the back of the Tahoe is a little bit destroyed. There's a headlight, there's a strut tower bar, and there's an intercooler. So I have the alternator off at the moment to help with wiring up my starter and all that crap. So today I'm hoping that we can get all the wiring ran and get the fuel system built and plug up the K-Pro and all that good stuff. I still won't have a battery. I won't be able to hit it with any power today, but you know, hopefully that side of the car will be done. Yeah, I know it's destroyed in here too, but I've been kind of contemplating a few things, and the car has to get going by the end of this month. It has to be running. So I'm thinking about running the RBB manifold for the time being, because I've already got the cable throttle body. It won't fit on the RBC without an adapter. I don't have really that much time to order parts. I've kind of got to do everything and anything I can possible right now to get the car ready to go to the show. That being said, all this stuff probably isn't going to stay on the car. I'm probably not going to keep all the accessories looking the way that they are. You know, I want to paint it. I want to get the engine bay professionally repainted, you know, at some point down the road. I'm still going to paint the subframe and, you know, I'm basically going to do everything that I've got right now. There's two doors that I've got to have painted. I got to paint both of those. I've got to paint the front bumper, and I'm pretty sure Tyler said he can fix the fenders. But that spot on the passenger side door is just horrible. So we got to get it fixed before we go. So I wanted to talk about this because clearly, you know, I painted the RBC. I've taken pictures with the RBC. I really wanted that to be done, but it's not going to be. So for now, I stole that guy from a TSX at work, and I'm just going to run the RBB for now. This is a cable throttle body from an 05 Accord, I believe. I got it at the junkyard for like nothing, and it just goes right on there. Like, so if you're wanting to keep the factory look, or if you're wanting factory simplicity, that's what I'm doing. It's not going to stay looking like this eventually. It's, you know, everything will be redone and it'll be prettied up and all that stuff, but for the sake of getting the car going, I just don't have the time to do that. Like I've been saying, and I've said about 150 times, and you're probably like, dude, I've already heard that. Like, shut the fuck up about it. So let's go wire some stuff up. Not having a passenger seat in this side makes it so much easier to get to everything. But so, pull this little guy off, set it to the side, put it wherever you're going to put it, and take your factory P72 and throw it away. Not really. Got another one back here. Let's see if I can get it to line up. Yeah, you can see it. Right there. Oh shit, got four. My bad. Right there. Look at that. Still got the cover on it and everything. Man, This thing is OG, son. I just want to say for a second that this raw wire harness is really, really cool, man. Like, there we go. So you got TDC. You've got your coil packs labeled. 3, 2, 1. You've got your fuel injectors labeled over here. 2, 3, 4, and 1. I mean, this is just really, really nice work. I mean, engine coolant temp, you know, they're all labeled right on the harness, so you don't have to worry about plugging something in, you know, that wasn't supposed to be there. GND right here, ground, you know, like, it's just really, it's made really, really well. There's your oil. Crankshaft position sensor connector, VTS. I mean, it's just made really, really well. So I'm gonna hook some of this stuff up on the engine so it's not just kind of flopping around, and then I'm gonna run it through the firewall. So this is kind of what I'm working with at the moment. So pull your fuse box back out of the way. I messed up and I hooked the harness back up to the firewall and all that jazz, and that just wasn't working. So what you're gonna do is I'm putting the biggest plug in first. Big, long, fat plug. Of course, take your grommet out. Now, this grommet was meant to come out with the heater box out, like yours. It was meant to come out and bring the engine harness into the car and out. But clearly we can't do that. So, heater box is in the way. I don't really want to take it out. So I'm going to try and fight this and get it down in there. Remember, there's a lot of carpet and crap in your way. This isn't going to be fun. This is probably my least favorite part of the whole thing. It's fishing wires through this little ass hole. So, I have semi-devised a plan. And if you can see the coat hanger right there, goes up behind the heater box, and is right there. So I'm going to tape it, and you're probably going to want to pull extremely slow. If you end up with too much resistance, you need to stop, because these wires are small, those connectors are brittle, you will break stuff. So there's no real way to explain how much pressure to use and not to use, because it's just going to be by the feel of it. So I'm going to try my hardest to go slow, pull it through. Hopefully we'll be alright. So I would recommend getting a clothes hanger that has that little cardboard cylinder on the bottom, and it's got these little hooks. And this thing was actually extremely handy. Right here, what I ended up doing was I put that loop right behind the zip tie. Of course, it might be different if you're not using a rye wire harness, but I put it on the zip tie, that way it would be applying pressure to the zip tie onto the wires, not necessarily to the wires themselves. I did kind of nick this one over here, I think, when the tape finally let go and pulled through. But clearly it worked. So with the other ones, I kind of fed them in behind it and just kind of tried to follow the same path that they were coming down through.
If you've got small hands, kind of like me, I've got semi-small hands, you can reach up in here, right where that harness is going through. You can reach up behind there, and you've got pretty much just the perfect amount of space to kind of feel with your fingers, feel the connector, and route it down through there. So let me show you what it looks like in the day. So I cut a slit right here in the middle of this guy, and I cut it to the middle. That way it was actually kind of open to where I could get this piece of the harness with the factory harness in the middle. And then with it being cut like that, I was able to just kind of route it back in there. Wasn't really that big of a deal going in as it was coming out. It really sucked. I'm gonna have to reroute some things. I don't really like how that harness is ran. I should have run the connectors underneath those ABS lines to hug the firewall, but I just wasn't really thinking about it at the time. So I'll disconnect everything and run it. I did also figure out that the K24A crankshaft position sensor must be different from the USDM crankshaft position sensor because the connector does not fit. So that's one thing I'm going to have to change. And then I'm going to mount the intake, button it up, and then get started on the fuel system. So this is the K-Tune conversion harness. I would have liked to use hybrid racing, but the guy that I bought all this from, he had already pretty much bought all of this as a swap package. So the manifold is K-tuned, and you know, so on and so forth. So eventually I'll probably switch that stuff out, but for now this will, you know, do what it needs to do, get the car running. It's got a little green wire right there. So you can, you have to splice it in to the ECU connector. I don't have my electrical tools and stuff from work here, and I want it to have a good connection and be safe, so I'm not going to do that yet. So I will put this conversion harness probably in a separate video, and then I think we're going to put the intake together. Those are my gaskets. And then I'm going to button it up on the car, and then I'm going to plumb the fuel. So do not forget your tape on these fuel pressure gauges that goes into the regulator. I'll show you what I mean. Right there. So there's a tip that I learned a while back. If you thread it like this, start your tape on the opposite side, so that way when you wrap it around like this, when you end it on this side, you're actually going to thread it in, and it's not going to pull the tape off. See? So it's really that easy. I probably could have made this a little shorter. You can cut it if you like. I just left it the same length, so I'd have a little bit of playroom. You were going to want to put some lubricant on that hose and the pipe, because it was, God, it was hard to get on. So literally that's your return line. I don't know if other people like me thought that for the longest time that was your feed, but it's not. That's your return line. Your pressure regulator is actually on the back side of your feed, so it comes from your fuel filter right here, which I haven't mounted back up yet. Comes around, goes over here, comes out, goes to your pressure regulator, goes to your return. So this guy is on the back side regulating pressure from here, which is actually really funny. But it does that because it holds more pressure back to the rail to fire rather than just letting it go back to the tank. So this is also another reason why I wanted to run this intake. So for now, anyway, having the factory valve cover ignition coil plate and the factory intake plate for the K24A2. And I accidentally cut a little bit too much off the back, but you can hide the fuel rail if you want. If you want to show it, you can. I think it's kind of cool looking. Clearly, when I do the RBC, I won't be able to have that option, but I will change from the K-Tune fuel rail and all that stuff. I will end up with a hybrid racing. Most of this car is going to be hybrid racing. I mean, honestly, it's just the brand I like. So if you like K-Tune, that's fine. I like hybrid racing. But that's going to pretty much do it for today. I've got all this basically plumbed up. This part right here was the part that no one seemed to like to explain. So that line right there, you can cut it, put it on there. You're going to need lubrication. You can cut, also I've seen people cut that rounded piece off of the fuel rail, and it makes it a lot easier to slide that line onto. I didn't do that, clearly, but I did put lubricant on the hose to go over that pipe. So it's whatever you want to do. It's kind of personal preference. So other than that, it's just like Legos. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.